Hello everyone and welcome back to Football Forecast, and today's video I'm going through my championship roundup, and I'm going to start with the sides at the top of the table. And one of the biggest games of this game week was Coventry at home to Millwall, where Coventry won 2-1, and it was a good game to watch. And the game started with a good goal from Roman Essay to put Coventry 1-0 up. I think what will concern Coventry is how easy it was for Millwall to get in behind in this game. And they actually created quite a few chances on the break. It was a brilliant goal by Ivanovic to get Millwall back into this game. And as you expect, the Coventry dominated the early phase of this game. They had 67% of the ball to Millwall's 33 in the first half. Rushworth made some key saves for Coventry in that game as well. And Millwall had some chances. Thankfully for Coventry, Rushworth made some key saves, so Coventry went on to win this game. And Haji Wright won the game for Coventry, and they've got great depth right now, and that was proven in this game. And Coventry overall, I feel like they'll feel like they deserve that 3 points, but it definitely could have gone the other way, and a draw was a likely result in this game. Cobb had a couple more chances at the end of the game on the break, but they couldn't convert those chances. And it was a vital win for Coventry. And when you get to the stage of the season where you're top of the table, it's just about getting over the line for the remainder of the season and making sure that you get promoted and ideally win the league. And they are still definitely on track to do this. They're likely to have a lot of games like this at the end of the season where it's quite tense, where there's quite a lot of pressure on the game. And it's just about finding ways to get over the line and getting promoted to the Premier League. It doesn't really matter how they get the job done. I do still think it's a bit of a concern for Coventry how easy it was for Millwall to create some chances in that game. But Coventry have got to be happy because they've taken 6 points from a possible 6 points, and they won their local derby against Leicester, as well as winning against a very good Millwall side. Looking at Millwall don't have to be too disappointed, I think, with that result. There are definitely some promising signs. A good goal from Ivanovic, as I said, and I think Millwall played well in this game. Going away to top of the league, it's understandable if you don't come away with anything for that game. And they're still likely to get into the playoffs by the end of the season. They're a very difficult side to beat Millwall, as they proved in that game. After two tough away games against Watford and Coventry, I don't think 3 points is the worst case scenario. So then we've got Ipswich at home to Bristol City, where Jack Clark scored 2 goals. The first goal was really good to give Ipswich a 2-0 win, and I think they deserve this 2-0 win overall. A very professional performance from them and a very good performance, and they deserve credit for this. And they never felt in jeopardy of not winning this game. And they overall played well throughout. And I don't think we've seen the best of Ipswich yet, which I think is promising. I think Ipswich can go up to another gear by the end of the season. And right now, I still think probably Ipswich and Coventry are my two to go up, because I think they've probably got the two best squads. Middlesbrough's also got a great squad, which I'm about to talk about. For Bristol City, I don't think you can be too disappointed losing to Ipswich away from home. Where they may be a bit frustrated is that they only got a draw against Oxford, but they do have Wednesday at home next, so that should be 3 points to get back to winning ways. We actually saw a potential save of the season, and one of the best saves I've ever seen from VTech in that game. It was an incredible save. It looked like the goal was in for all money, but he managed to somehow stick out a right arm, and the agility to get across was brilliant to actually somewhat keep Bristol City in this game. So then we're on to Middlesbrough, and they played Stoke away from home, and they'll be disappointed with the fact they went 1-0 down in this game. It was poor keeping by Brian in goal, actually. He has to be making the save, and he had some questionable moments throughout the game, and overall Middlesbrough actually had a really poor start in this game. The second half they did start to improve. There was a lot more intensity, and that resulted in them getting an early goal in the second half. Some brilliant play by Hackney. He couldn't put the ball in the back of the net, but then it did eventually fall for Alan Brown, and he managed to score. It was also a brilliant assist by Alan Brown, which resulted in Tommy Conway putting the ball in the back of the net. Tommy Conway got lucky with the finish, and I don't think he's convinced anybody the fact that Middlesbrough still don't need a number 9. They 100% need a striker to Middlesbrough. And if they were going to strike it, I think that would maybe convince me to put them in the automatics. But right now, without that striker signing, I don't think I can. Stoke then got a player sent off for a second yellow, and from there I think most people thought, oh, Middlesbrough should comfortably win this game, but it nearly wasn't that, because Sorba Thomas put some brilliant crosses into the box, and it should have actually probably resulted in Middlesbrough conceding. Once again, some poor keeping by Brian, especially on the first one. He went out to catch it and he completely missed it under no pressure, and Sorba Thomas proved why he's one of the best dead ball specialists in the league. So overall, nothing has changed in that game week in terms of the difference in points between the sides, and nothing changed in the previous game week. I would say probably the big winners out of those sides, though, are probably Coventry. The fact that Coventry had two difficult games. They were both at home, though, to Leicester and Millwall. And Middlesbrough also gained, considering they had two away games in this period. One was to West Brom, which looks like, after their results against Norwich, wasn't a very difficult game at all. Ipswich, I probably would have said, have gained the least from this. They were comfortable in their performances, but they've got some really tough away games coming up in February, and they would have been hoping to gain from these two game weeks, considering they are still behind Middlesbrough and Coventry after this game week. So then the next side I want to discuss is Hull City, who have had a couple of great game weeks in a row, and they have managed to go ahead of Millwall on the table after Millwall lost to Coventry. And Hull are just a great side to watch. And what impressed me about this game more than the other games is the fact defensively they were actually really good in this game. They were a lot better defensively than I've seen in the past. For example, the Southampton game, based off XG, based off the stats, they deserved to lose that game. But in this game, they definitely deserved to win it. Hull were very good going forwards, and there was a brilliant finish actually for the third goal by Oliver McBurney to give Hull the 3-0 win over Preston. Considering all the issues they've had going into the season, a lot of people thinking they could potentially get relegated, and they've managed to find a way to be in fourth place. They've also got the second best away record in the Championship, just showing how good they are actually away from home, and they are a very good side to watch, Hull. And it's disappointment for Preston. That is the third game in a row in all competitions they have failed to score in, and that is a real problem for them. And Osimovic got sent off right at the end of the game for a headbutt. It's a poor decision by him, and recently he's been really failing to control his temper, and it continues to cost his side. He has just been suspended for 10 games as well, and this sort of turned into a brawl on the sidelines right at the end of the game. But overall, that's a massive 3 points for Hull City on the road. For Preston, they need to get back to winning ways. They are still 6th place in the Championship, so they're still in a playoff position, but they have lost ground on the other teams around them. For example, Millwall and Hull City have managed to go above them. So now I've got Wrexham at home to Leicester. Two sides that will probably still be hoping they can find a way to get into the playoffs by the end of the season. Wrexham will be frustrated by the fact they haven't won this game. It was a good goal by Lewis O'Brien to put Wrexham 1-0 up, and Wrexham probably deserved to win this game, but Leicester did manage to find a late equaliser through Vestergaard, and it feels like a very Leicester performance once again, a moment of quality, a moment of individual quality, getting themselves out of trouble. And it's so weird with Leicester, because if you just feel like they should be performing so much better than they are right now. They're currently 14th in the Championship, and when you look at that side, you go, how is that side not higher up in the table? For Wrexham, they'll look at this and probably say 2 points dropped and 5 points dropped at home, considering they lost to Norwich, and they'll feel like that was definitely 2 points that they've let slipped away, because they probably deserved to win off what we saw in that game. For me, that performance from Leicester was sort of papering over the cracks. They still created very little in that game, and they were lucky to get a point away from home. So then Watford at home to Portsmouth. Watford, I thought, were poor in the sort of first 20 minutes of the first half. They didn't create a lot of chances, but they got more dangerous as the half went on, and they probably should have gone to the break 1-0 up. They were dangerous in transition, but they went 1-0 down after half-time, after Watford gave the ball away and Portsmouth won the ball high up the pitch, and it was a good goal by Segic and a good pass actually by Chaplin to put Portsmouth 1-0 up, very similar to the goal they got against Wednesday. And I think Portsmouth will be disappointed the fact they didn't hold on for 3 points, considering how they conceded. It was a poor error by Schmidt. He has to be claiming that ball, and he dropped the ball, and Doumbia put the ball in the back of the net. And look, you can make excuses about the weather for this game. It's still a poor mistake from Schmidt, and he has to be doing better. It's a good point on the road for Pompey, but I still think they'll still be disappointed and say that's 3 points we've let go of. Some good news for Pompey is that they are outside of the relegation zone and they've got games in hand on the other sides around them. So that's some positive news if you are a Pompey fan. Watford will be disappointed. They've taken 1 point from a potential 6 at home. Losing to Millwall is understandable, but they'll be disappointed by the fact that they were outclassed by Millwall in that game. This game, they'll be saying we had to win that game against a side that's struggling in the relegation zone coming to our place. That should be a 3 points. And if it was 3 points, they would now be in the playoff positions. So then we've got Derby County at home to Charlton. And Derby County definitely profited off a poor first half by Charlton. They've got to be better in the first half, Charlton. They were so poor against Sheffield United and they were lucky not to be 3 or 4 goals down. And in this game, it did result in them eventually going 2 goals down in this game after the second half. Agyeman and Clark were the 2 goal scorers for Derby County in that game. And Tyrese Campbell did manage to get Charlton back into this game, and maybe they could have gone on and got something from this game, but there were some really good saves made by O'Donnell. It was helped by the fact that Clark was eventually sent off the centre half into the final 5 minutes, which allowed Charlton to sort of apply the pressure. But overall, you've got to start better in games, and you can't just rely on good second halves, which is what they had. So then we've got Sheffield Wednesday at home to Birmingham, and Birmingham have found a way to win away from home, which I think is the biggest part of this result, because look, you're going up against a Wednesday side who are guaranteed to get relegated and have got nowhere near enough quality to compete. And Wednesday held on for about 82 minutes, and it looked like potentially they could get something from this game, but eventually Birmingham did manage to score in this game, and they actually scored a second goal, and crucially Kyogo got his first goal of the season. It's taken him ages to find a way to put the ball in the back of the net in the championship, but he's finally done that. And they'll just be hoping that that will relieve some pressure on Kyogo, and now he'll be able to start playing freely and well, because he proved at Celtic he is a good player, but he's really struggled in the championship so far this season. Overall, it's a positive 3 points for Chris Davies and a 3 points that they definitely needed away at Wednesday, but I don't think it's a defining result for this season. I just think when you win against Wednesday, there's nothing really to sort of praise hugely, because most sides are beating Sheffield Wednesday weekly. So then I've got Oxford QPR. I'm just going to quickly go through this. It was a 0-0 draw. There were not a lot of chances for either side in this game. Oxford probably unlucky not to win. If you had to pick a winner from this game, Oxford probably had the better chances. And maybe there are some signs under Bloomfield, but 2 0 draws in a row is concerning, considering part of the reason why Bloomfield came in was to make them a bit more of an attacking side. It's a bit ironic, really, because they actually got rid of Gary Rowett because they wanted to become more attacking, and that's why Bloomfield came in. But so far, all they've managed is 2 0 draws. A very even game, that one, though. For QPR, I think they'll be disappointed in the fact that they have only got a point in that game. So then we've got Southampton at home to Sheffield United, and this felt like a crucial game, especially for Southampton. Southampton need to find a way to get back to winning ways. They're desperate for a win, and they did find it in this game, winning 1-0 over Sheffield United. And it was a deflected goal from Sizer that gave them the win in this game. And Sheffield United were under strength going into this game. Tyler Binden was out with, it appears to be, an illness. Tanganga was suspended going into this game. So those are 2 crucial players for Sheffield United. And they had a makeshift defence of Ben Mee and McGuinness, as well as this Sumare was suspended for Sheffield United. So they definitely had some problems going into this game, and they looked a bit disorganised at times. Sheffield United had some chances in this game to at least get something from this game, but it was some great saves by Peretz. The best one was up against Patrick Bamford, and I think Bamford probably thought he'd scored for all money, but he didn't put the ball in the back of the net. For Sheffield United, that's a disappointing result. 2 losses on the road, and I think it's very unlikely now that they will put in a good playoffs push. They are now 11 points behind the playoffs, so it's unlikely it's looking. And there's also 11 teams between them, so they need 11 teams to do worse than them by the end of the season, which you would say is unlikely. For Southampton, They are still 7 points behind, and there's still 9 teams between them and Preston North End. So it's looking unlikely that they will get into playoffs for the season, which would definitely be a disappointment. And right now it's looking like two sides that are going to end up underperforming for their season. So that's the end of sort of talking about the sides. They're sort of in playoff contention right now. Hull City have gained a lot from the last couple of game weeks, and now they are into 4th place. In terms of sides that gained from this game week, every side actually lost or drawed apart from Birmingham, who got a win, and Southampton. So all the other sides dropped points apart from the sides in the top 4. Someone else who you can maybe argue still in a chance of playoffs, in fact they probably are, it's just unlikely, is Swansea. Swansea got a good win over Blackburn, 2 goals for Viper Tick again, and he just continues to score week after week. He is the top scorer in the Championship right now, and it's a massive win for Swansea. For Blackburn, they're well in trouble now. They are 22nd in the Championship and looking like a side that could definitely get relegated. Right now, you'd say Wednesday and Oxford will most likely go down. 100% Wednesday. Oxford, there's a sliver of hope for them to stay up. Then you would say the next relegation spot is most likely between West Brom, Portsmouth, Blackburn, and probably Charlton. I'm confident Norwich get out of the relegation zone, and that is because of this 5-0 hammering of West Brom, and I was so disappointed by West Brom in this game. This was a massive game, probably the biggest game of the season. New manager Eric Ramsey comes in, and he would have been desperate for 3 points at home against a side that's also in a relegation battle. And if West Brom win this, it's not like, oh, all of a sudden they're 100% going to stay up. But it would have increased their chances of survival, I think, by quite a lot. But they failed to win this, and they got absolutely battered. And I think the stats really didn't show the picture. In fact, West Brom actually had more XG than Norwich in this game, which just shows why you shouldn't believe in XG. And sure, some of the finishes by Norwich were really good in this game, but some of the defending was so static from West Brom. On the third goal, they were so slow to react. And the last goal, I mean, this is such pathetic defending. They just walked through the West Brom defence. It was horrendous. And the West Brom fans, I think, were rightfully chanting, "You're not fit to wear the shirts." I think that's absolutely fair enough, because they should be nowhere near the relegation zone. And right now, I think they're one of the favourites to go down inside these sort of 4 sides I was just discussing. Because when you're down on confidence like this, you're not playing at the ability that some of the players they've got in that squad should be. And I mean, there are concerns and there are questions already around Eric Ramsey, and I'd say rightfully so. I know this seems harsh, but playing Grant up front and then Badger on the right made absolutely no sense for this game. Why are you not starting Higabo, one of West Brom's better players so far this season? And I think the change that West Brom need to make is go to a 4-4-2. I think this would get the best out of West Brom. You could play Madger and Higabo up front in their actual position. I think this would actually really work for a side like West Brom. There's no point playing so many defenders when they're all playing so rubbish. I mean, Charlie Taylor was awful once again. He was awful against Middlesbrough. Nat Phillips was terrible. I mean, the whole defence is a shambles right now. And unless West Brom change something drastically in the next couple of weeks, they are going to be well and truly in that relegation zone, and they are heading down to League One, which would be unbelievable, really, considering it looked likely they could go up at the start of the season. And I think they were way too slow to sack Ryan Mason, and now you've given limited time for the new manager to come in, and the manager they've brought in doesn't have experience with sort of keeping a side up. I do think when you're in this sort of position, getting sort of an old school manager is probably the way to go, but they've gone with an inexperienced manager in Eric Ramsey, who's only managed in the MLS, and it's either going to be a player genius and he'll do really well, or it could be the reason why they go down. I'm not going to pile the pressure on Eric Ramsey because I think that'd be harsh to do. This is only his second game in charge of West Brom, but so far it's not looking great at all. Let me know your thoughts on this championship roundup, and if you enjoy this, it'd be great if you subscribe to the YouTube channel as well as liking the video.